Hello,
Hi, Gurmeet.
how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah, you must be so busy right now.
Excited? Yes, very excited.
Well, I'm so glad we could do this. I mean, we've known each other for like maybe 4 years now, and it's just so nice to do like a face-to-face kind of catch up and almost. And yeah, so before we talk more about Mirzapur, I just have a starter question. What's the first film that made you fall in love with cinema?
Wow. So actually, I'm one of those rare people who's not much of a cinephile,
Okay.
and I don't know if I've always wanted to do this. I think I've gotten in by chance, but I think my parents are very fond of films. So as a child, I think we were exposed to watching a lot of movies. Especially
Hmm.
all the regular commercial fare, whether it was from Hollywood or just Hindi films. So I've seen a lot of that and animation and stuff. So we watched a lot while growing up, but not academically. So I don't know if there's any film that sort of inspired me or put it in my head that I want to get into filmmaking. But again, there are lots of films that are memorable that
Yeah.
I remember from growing up. So that's there. So again, I think, but very regular commercial films,
Hmm.
Hollywood, Hollywood. I think those are my childhood memories of films.
To be honest, that's the same with me. Like Karan Arjun has been like my all-time favorite film growing up. So basically I used to watch it all. It wasn't just Hollywood. You'd watch Hindi, and I understand exactly what you mean by that. It's basically you're exposed to so many things, and then that's
Right.
kind of like it kind of forms a part of you in a way. So yeah, I completely get that. So, well, moving on to like, as you know, my favorite show in the world, Mirzapur. So how did this journey begin? Because it was like, what is it, like more than 6 years ago now? You must have known
Yes,
about Mirzapur.
almost 8 years ago,
Yeah.
since we started shooting for season one. Uh,
Mm.
and so there was another show that we had all worked on together. Most of the team that was on Mirzapur. It was called Inside Edge.
I love that show.
So Inside Edge is actually the first foray into sort of long format for all of us.
Hmm.
I was the associate producer on season one, and
Yeah.
I directed an episode as well. And the team consisted of Puneet Krishna, who's the
Mm.
creator of Mirzapur. He was one of the writers on Inside Edge,
Yeah.
and Karan Anshuman, who's the creator of Inside Edge, and he was also going to direct Mirzapur season one, which he did along with us. So it was
Mm.
the same team that was moving into Mirzapur. We also had pretty much the same heads of departments that were moving in here as well. So I think it sort of came from there. It is Puneet Krishna's brainchild. He's the
Hmm.
one that's grown up in Uttar Pradesh, and he's seen that sort of world, that vibe. He's seen these kind of crazy people, quirky people, the language. So it's on script, it's completely his baby.
Hmm.
I pitched it to Excel, and then we all started working on it. I was fortunate enough to be taken on board to direct it, which I've been very lucky and so very blessed. And once that happened, I've clung on to the show and made sure that I stay here season after season. So I think
Yeah.
that's where it sort of started.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember when I spoke to Puneet, he was also saying like when he writes his dialogues, he kind of like shouts them out aloud. So I'm just thinking all the colorful dialogues you hear in Mirzapur are being shouted across the room whilst Puneet has been like writing his script. So, but yeah, no, and even like so when you work together, like, is your like vision clear from the beginning, before filming? Like, are you 100% sure like what you want to kind of create before filming?
So I think there's more conversation with this for season one because we were getting into the world for the first time. So setting up the rules of the world happened a lot more in season one because of the amount of shooting that one needs to do for a long format. It's very different from a film.
Yeah.
And logistically, it doesn't allow us to sort of prep every scene in detail because there's so many locations and there's so many logistical things that need to come together that a lot of stuff happens very last minute. Even with the writing, there's a lot of stuff that is constantly being tweaked or rewritten or improved or sharpened. So if it's a film, then you are almost 80 to 90% everything is sort of pre-decided as to how you want to shoot it and what's your treatment going to be like, and if possible, you sort of storyboard everything. But in a show, you have to be a little more organic. So you do decide your key moments, and especially if those moments involve like either action or they're very complicated setups or scenes. If it's like a big conference, or like a rally, or that kind of stuff, then of course, because uh, there are a lot of technical things associated to shooting and stuff like that, then those things you sort of break down in advance, or how you're going to shoot the action stuff. And Mirzapur, of course, has a lot of action scenes, so those are all pre-decided. So we know exactly what we're doing, what prosthetics we're going to do, how we're going to approach those scenes. Otherwise, apart from that, what you do is you decide a vibe of the show. Like, for example, for season one, we knew we wanted to keep it raw and gritty. So that's the sort of mood and lighting we were going to go with. We were going to go with a lot of handheld because we wanted that adrenaline to be part of the show. It was going to be sort of edgy, so not very fine. It was supposed to be all very rough and coarse, and so not keep any refinement in things that we do. So that was sort of decided. Then just going into when you start finding your locations, there again you choose your best angles in the recce, and then when you come down to shoot, probably like a day or two before shoot is when I do my shot breakdown. So it's that close to shoot that you sort of figuring out what to do with the exact scene. But so you've decided everything logistically before, so that where your equipment's going to go, if the DOP has to light, where his lighting's going to go, where the thing's going to happen. That's all sort of pre-decided. But the actual execution of the scene is very close to the shoot. So it's either just a day or two before, or it's like literally on the morning of the day that we decide, okay, these are the amount of shots we're going to take, and this is how we're going to cover the scene.
Oh wow. Do you have a process of like getting into the headspace? Do you know, like right up to that point before filming? Like, is there something you kind of like just have to tell yourself, or is there something you do just to kind of get in that zone?
Fortunately, we've never had enough time to think so
Yeah.
much, and everything always like a moving roller coaster or a juggernaut, where we're always running short of time and trying to catch up all the time. So I think that's a good and bad, where it doesn't allow you to sort of overthink and procrastinate, or
Yeah.
focus on sort of the unnecessary things that might actually not give any value to the film or the project. And the bad thing, of course, is that a lot of the things you have to really come up with or improvise on the last minute because you're running short of time. But yeah, I mean, literally in these past 8 to 9 years, it's been one after the other. It's been rolling. So when one show's been in post production, the other's pre-production
Yeah,
has started. So
exactly.
what has been good is that every season of Mirzapur has been interspersed with one other project, which helps as like becoming a palate cleanser, and they're necessarily not as dark or as
Yeah.
intense. So whether it was Inside Edge in the early years, so that was alternating between
Yeah,
Mirzapur,
it was in every two
and
years.
between season 2 and 3, it was my film phone booth,
Yeah.
which helped as the sort of step away, or
Yeah.
almost like going away from this real and very intense world to something more fantastical and fun, and just lighter. So that really helps. So when you go there and then you come back to Mirzapur, it again feels like a new candy shop, and you come here sort of fully charged. And I think that's all the headspace that's required. Otherwise,
Yeah.
because Mirzapur is so challenging, it just from the day one when you start, when the story is being written, when the writing is being happening, it's just a challenge every day. Just like it seems daunting, like I don't know how we're going to get there in the end. So it consumes you completely till the time it's fully finished.
Well, it's huge because like the thing is like there's so many people involved and there's everyone like even from the cast and crew. I would say this like it's just all together. It's just in sync. This show, I think the core storyline is you've kept it, and that's what I loved as well. Like I mean, like I've got nothing in common with Mirzapur, but I love it. I basically feel like I feel the emotions of Mirzapur, and because of the fact that it's such a human story that I can connect to it. And I'm not even living in Mirzapur. I've never been to Mirzapur, but I would love to visit. But I'm not sure if you'd realize how much you kind of like touched people with this show. It's just,
Uh,
yeah,
no, no, you're absolutely right, and it's I mean, for us, it's overwhelming every time. Like we feel that, yes, the shows has sort of wide reach and fan base, but every day there's a new surprise, or you meet somebody who's seen the show that you'd never expect that
Mhm.
they've so and it ranges from people who are as old as 84, uh,
Wow.
as young as too young to watch the show, where legally they shouldn't be watching the show, but
Mhm.
they will watch. And so many parents are okay with their kids watching Mirzapur because they enjoyed watching the show.
Yes.
And of course, we don't recommend that. And of course, the kids should be above 18. But I have met so many younger boys, 14 up, who've already seen the show, and boys and girls who've actually seen the show. So it's amazing that, and it also cuts through sort of class, like
Yeah.
the straight down to villages, to very rural areas, to extremely urban, Bombay, Bandra, rich, poor, um, people who write like very niche, classy content. They love the show. People who like massy, explosive entertainers, they love the show. So something, I don't know, we also keep trying to ask these questions as to why people connect to the show. And like you said, we hope the reason is the fact that the human side of the show,
It
I
is.
think
Yeah.
that is very sort of pure, and you understand the father-son dynamics and the mother-daughter, the
Mm.
love, the rage, the loss, the angst, the looking for validation. I think those things, those themes are very global and very common.
Exactly.
So people do understand that. And of course, we're blessed with like an amazing set of actors who are able to translate this so well for the audiences, and the audience really like watching them on screen. So they just make it very palatable.
I think that that's why it works so well. Like I mean, we had seen obviously when I first watched Mirzapur in back in 2018. I'd known obviously of Ali Fazal. I knew of Rasika Dugal. I Pankaj Tripathi, of course. But then you see like the fresh faces as well. Like and then that helps create this entire ensemble, and everyone just works perfectly together. Like it's just the chemistry is there, and you can just tell like you all kind of have made this kind of brainchild into something that's just amazing. Because I mean in and it's true, like it's the human story. Because I'm connecting with Munna Tripathi has nothing in common with me but I love like and I have to tell you this, my mum was so upset when what happens to Munna at the end of season 2. She's like, nahi, Munna ko nahi marna chahiye. And then she was absolutely upset with like what happens with Munna. And the thing is, it's true, like he may have this lack of humanity, but then the love he has for Sweetie, as creepy as it may seem, it's pure. There is a pure love he has in the beginning with Sweetie. And even like the way he kind of looks for like that validation from his father. And so you and it's like certain things like that. It's just this, and I think the whole thing with Gudu and Bablu as well, like they just seem like these average normal guys. They're not like these heroes that you see in the Hindi films. You kind of, these are these just normal guys that you can completely relate to, like the whole Pandit family. Like I mean, like that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes is when they fight back with in season episode 1, in season 1 when they kind of come to the house. Munna comes to kind of threaten everyone, and they kind of fight back with the utensils. That is like my all-time favorite scene when Dimpi's throwing chai, and then the forks are being used to kind of stab people. And it was just that sort of thing. It was just so like this original flavor. And yeah, and so I wanted to ask, you've been with Mirzapur from the beginning. Is there like a certain scene like that is so close to your heart?
So like you said, this scene is actually one of the sort of transformative scenes in Mirzapur. I think
Mhm.
the audience really got sucked into the show
Yeah.
with that scene, the one that you spoke about, where I mean, it was a great rush for the audience to just see this family that's cornered sort of fight back. And it gives, people that feeling of, if they were in that situation, would they be able to do that? And that
Mhm.
sense of heroism without being heroic, like you said, it's that underdog coming out. I think that scene was shot under a lot of logistical constraints. So it was one of the most memorable in that respect. And the fact that it's turned out so well and so many people remember it,
Yeah.
that I think is a key scene in season 1. The others, there are scenes for varying reasons why we sort of remember and enjoy it just as filmmakers on our own. Of course, the Munna killing compounder scene in
Yeah.
season one.
Yeah.
I think that again it is because it's written. It was always written on paper, and we knew that this scene was going to be fantastic. So just the joy of the fact that the execution worked for a scene that was already so good on paper is, it gives you a satisfaction that you were able to translate what was something that was great on paper and to bring it out to people. I think that for sure. Then something else that we tried in season one, which was a complete technical sort of thing that we were able to manage, and that's why we're very proud of it, is the sort of single take in episode 7 when Guddu Babru
Yes.
the cops are chasing them and they're in that building, and it's
That it was 3 minutes, I think. It was that
yeah.
Lines of Mirzapur episode. Yeah, I remember that. That was the scene I was going to mention as well. Yeah.
So that from a technical point of view, and just as for the crew coming together to be able to execute something like that, I think so that is another one that stands out, of course. And of course the wedding massacre at the end, only because that was, I mean, emotionally that was tough for everyone to sort of pull off, and the actors, I think they just did an amazing job. And the fact that for us the challenge as directors was just to be able to stage something in such an open space where you see like for example, even if you see some of the other shows, when these kind of brutalities take place, they are not actually staying for the emotion as much. They go for the shock and they leave you in those spaces. So even if you even very closely, because a lot of people said that it reminded them of the Red Wedding at Game of Thrones. So even if you look at that as a close example, in there, it's mainly driven by shock that, oh, this happened. But here we had almost like 20-30 minutes of the episode play out within.
I feel sad when I'm just thinking about this episode. Is that's what you guys did? Like I still remember the day I watched that episode, because like the first time you've seen it, you're not expecting this, and I still feel like I felt so heartbroken with, well, first of all, what happens to Sweetie, and then what happens to Bablu. And the thing is, because you're not expecting it, and it completely, like, it messes with your head, like what's happened, and you don't have this time to even digest it, because it just happens so, like, in that space of like 30 minutes. Because and I think I would say it's one of my favorite season finales of any Hindi OTT show ever. It's still like up there, because I mean I've seen that finale so many times. I can't tell you, like, it'd probably be embarrassing if I told you how many times I've seen it.
I mean, we love this, so we love it when people watch it. And even for us, when so recently, a lot of the cast and crew wanted to rewatch season 1 and 2, just lead up to now. And when we were also watching it, it still breaks your heart when you watch that episode. And even with what's happening to Beena in the other side, that was another very dark scene to execute. And I remember, like generally, I don't lose my temper very often, but that was one of the days where it had become just so dark and traumatic for all of us shooting it. So I remember our co-producer Abbas, who's again a fantastic person and very level-headed. Even him losing his cool never happens, but it had become so charged. Yeah, I think that's one of our first sort of on-set squabbles or fights that me and Abbas sort of had on that day, and it was completely pointless. There was no reason for that fight. It was just the emotion pouring off the set onto us. And it had reached us. So that it had become that the end of, and in it, that is the episode that changes Mirzapur forever. Yes. That is what just throws it into another spanner. And I mean, that's the beauty of whatever Puneet had done, that that's what it does every season. So it takes you on the journey for that season, but the finale then throws it open to a complete new world that will start the next time around in a very different color. So that was beauty of the show.
I pictured myself as I was a wedding guest. That's how much like I was traumatized when I watched it, because and the thing is from like that the whole build up of that entire episode, because like you know when they get to the wedding, they're getting ready, all that, just it's like so realistic. You can imagine like they would have to go to another room and kind of just go and put their sari on and something like that. It's like you don't see this usually. Like usually they just go and just cut to and there's a song, but this is like that build up is there. And the entire like thing where even like Gudu's that family portrait on the stage, you know, with the when they're taking the final picture with, that breaks my heart every time, you know, because like when Gudu's kind of, you know, regaining that consciousness again, and like when he holds Sweetie's arm and he's like in between Bablu and Sweetie, and
Yeah.
then after you know what's going to happen, then it just breaks your heart even more, because that's like completely like, so when I watched it, I was a complete mess. And but it's true, like, and like even the smallest things, like where you have the music, you have the guests dancing and the famous cha-cha, the cha-cha, and like stuff like that you don't see very often. Like that sort of like there's a bit of a quick wit there, and then there's like then it cuts to like something completely dark and what's happening, and that entire episode I would say is perfect. Like that, it's perfection, that entire episode, because it's everything is like it fits. And like I called it the Triparty rule of law, that entire episode, because in each part of the episode, this one of the Triparties is kind of like showing them who's boss.
Yeah.
And
So
so yeah, and that's like that's still like one of my favorite, like the entire like the wedding scene, and also that 3 minute single take you mentioned as well in the episode 7. That was amazing. Like, how was it to film that?
yeah, I mean, and again, it wasn't originally thought to be like a single take. It was actually written out quite in detail. It was supposed to be a lot of humor, Guddu and Bablu, running through this crazy sort of living area where so many people are staying in these small rooms up and around. And it was initially supposed to be shot very like a first person shooter video game kind
Mm,
of vibe,
yeah,
going through rooms and coming through rooms, somebody's having sex, there's some weird things happening. So it was
yeah.
written like that. But when the location, when we found that location, and I still remember there's a DA on the show called Adi Seshayar, who when he was there, and it was literally even on the second recce where we were supposed to lock everything down, and he I think came up with the idea, and he said to Karan that should we do a single take here? Like that would be
Mm,
crazy. That could be pulled off. And Karan said, we should try it. And initially, I was completely like, no, we're too late into the planning of the
yeah,
sequence. We won't be able to execute it with the logistics that we have. We are tight for time. We want to do a shoddy job. If we had thought of this earlier, maybe we could. But it was good that they sort of stuck with the conviction, and they pushed us saying, try it, because it'll be really out of this world if we manage to make that happen. So we went ahead and we said, "Chalo, we'll risk it."
mm,
And literally, again, a lot of credit for this goes to our co-producer Abbas, who then put his neck on the line, and he managed to get us the equipment that we needed, the personnel that we needed, and he oversaw it till we got to the shooting days, because generally we're shooting sort of back to back. So there's no
mm,
time to prep for a big sequence like that. And in an ideal scenario, you should have a day of complete prep for something
yeah,
like that. But our schedule didn't allow us.
mm,
So literally it was Abbas who, went there. And of course technically we had decided how we were going to do it, but in an actual location to be able for them to rig that cable, the cable cam,
yeah, exactly.
and to make that work, to get the correct people who would make it happen, and uh, of course the action team, to be, because it's dangerous, there are people
Yeah,
falling
they're
off,
spiraling up the steps almost.
and their effects near actors, so that needs to happen. So the whole choreography of that, and then the AD team, because they're juniors, I mean they're extras as well in the scene, their kids, their families, their old people,
Yeah.
so all of that needs to be coordinated. There are breaking tables, so it was fun to sort of do that. Our AD Pooja Kadam, she devised a system of So the entire thing was done to count. And if I remember correctly, there was 150 or 160 counts. So everybody in that sequence was given a count as to what they had to do. So if like action, if Guddu and Bablu ran in on, one would be the fireball that would go behind them, which would simulate that the car had exploded outside. Then two would be the camera start moving up. Three, the cops sort of come in, the women. So everything was on like built on count. And so we took one entire night to sort of shoot that sequence, and we did around 8 rehearsals and 6 or 7 takes. And I think the fourth take is the one that's used eventually. And even in that, we were facing technical difficulties because the camera, when it would reach its topmost height, it would sway. It would not be perfectly static, which we couldn't manage to fix on the shoot. So we decided we'll figure out what to do with it later in post. So actually, when you watch the sequence, as it reaches its top height, there is a flutter of backs that happen, which we in post, which helps us mask and gives us the illusion that that's why the camera sort of does the little bit of a wobble with the thing. So that's something we creatively sort of put into.
It works completely. I think it works completely. And I remember, and I liked the Mumbai Mavericks announcement at the end. Like they talk about Ayu Raghavan.
Ourselves a note to the show that we had just sort of completed, and it was up for release during, it just released. So, and because we just wanted to, like you said, give the feel that the world is going on around them.
The universe.
Yeah. So just that somebody's listening to cricket commentary and whatever, and somebody would be cooking food and just for that. And because the in the whole sequence, it's almost like you hear the action happening off screen first. And the camera slowly sort of turns around and you see the end bit of stuff that's happening. So it always feels like you're trying to catch them and find out what's happening. So you're always just
because it's so dark as well, and it's like, and then you have the flashing of the lights as well, and it's firing. It's like a game. Basically, you're playing a video game. That's what it was like, and it's very interactive. Because like, even watching it, it's like very 3D interactive. You're there, and that's what I found as well. Like that was a particular favorite scene of mine, like throughout both seasons, because I just think it was so like brave, like and it's just so original and authentic, because you're kind of doing things with cameras that like maybe like camera angles that no one's tried before, and that sort of thing. Even like the smallest things, like Munna when he's driving his Jeep, and it's like from this angle you see the gear stick of the skull turning, like stuff like that. It's just really cool, like this quirky angles, which I kind of picked up, and I was like, these are like original angles you're trying to like go for. You're not just doing like a set thing where it's just like one screen, and that sort of originality is there. And actually, like that scene with like the lions of Mirzapur, and that episode was just like, you can just tell. And I just felt really sorry for the new car they had just bought, and it's completely gets crashed. But and in terms of like season 2, is there something that like a scene that's like really close to your heart?
So we did a similar thing in season 2.
In the Mao scene.
Yes, where there's an attack on Lala that's going to happen. Where now that which is an even longer sort of single take. It's almost 3.5 minutes. But this time, so what we were trying to challenge ourselves, and we said, there's so much adrenaline and noise and sound that we used in the season 1 sequence, which helped us mask the single take and all of that, and it kept going. So we said, can we do this in a stealth scenario where there is actually nothing to distract the audience?
It was really quiet,
really quiet. So that is a completely like this. It starts off on a boat, it comes up on land, it travels, almost 700 meters, and it keeps going up and up and up, and the camera actually goes right up 2 stories and into the corridor. So so which required almost 6 sets of camera operators to be able to get it till there. And again, it's just about building that tension, where we picked sequences in season 1 and season 2 for this, where we knew we were not trying to push the story forward a lot. We were trying to build the tension. So we could do that, because with single take sometimes the problem is that you're not able to convey emotion as well, but the tension you can sort of build up. So we picked sequences where we didn't need to say anything emotionally, but just sort of have the audience immerse themselves
Just
into
the
the sequence.
movements you can
Yeah,
watch and pick up.
we feel like we are the attackers on Lala, and we're
Yeah.
going into the area. So you go past them and you're like, oh shit, something's gonna happen. So I think that was, again, was something that was tough to execute. And a shout out to our DOP Sanjay Kapoor,
Yeah.
who's shot all the 3 seasons, for always allowing us to be brave,
Mm.
and saying, this is what we're going to do, and do we know how we're going to do it? No, but can we try and figure this out? Yes. So also willing to take that risk. And
Mm.
on this season 2 shoot, I remember very clearly that so we were shooting on the ghats of Banaras,
Yeah.
and they're normally very well lit up. Okay, and of course, there are always budgetary restrictions, so there's only as much lighting as the DOP could do on his own because of the vast area.
Mm.
And he was reliant on the existing lighting that the ghats had. But on the day of the shoot, there was a big malfunction at the
Oh,
ghat, and we lost the lights
but it works so well.
completely. So he had to really, like, every single light that he had in his light truck had to somehow be, we had to manage and get it to work. And in the distance, the bridge, there was a beautiful bridge that was visible. Then we actually, in post, we sort of lit up that bridge to give us that depth, because originally then it had gone into darkness completely, and that
Wow.
was like a kilometer away, the main bridge at Banaras. So just things that you improvise and you do when just to get things done. So I think that was a memorable sort of sequence that we managed to pull off. Then again in season 2, the climax is again a very sort of favorite, and it has, at least for us, it holds a lot of emotion. Like literally, when the Munna's death scene was happening, they were crying, but off camera, I think including DOP, us, everyone was like, just
Yeah.
everyone was, even just like something was passing through for everyone. Everyone was weeping completely. So, and so season 2, because we had switched, like I said, after the climax of season 1, which was raw and aggressive, and
Mm.
these brash young people who were uh, vying for survival, and in that survival they had chanced upon some power, and them thinking it was a game, and things that then by the end of the season it became deadly serious, because they had lost so much. So season 2, the color had changed to revenge, and it had changed to a lot more intensity and brooding, and sort of
Exactly.
coming to grips with, oh my god, what we've done, and now how will we come back. So a lot of Guddu and Golu that you'll see in season 2, they're all primarily shot at night, and they're indoors quite a lot. And even if they're outdoors, they're very isolated. They're not interacting with people too much, and even with all the other people that are there. So season 2 was a lot about isolation, and so they all sort of, in their own centers, they were sort of building up, building up, building up, building up to that finale.
Yeah,
And
that's
in
so
the
true.
last episode, then it goes batshit crazy with almost like 6 people dying in that episode,
I know.
where
Yeah.
start, starts off with Bauji, and then it goes to one of the Tyagis, and
Oh,
Mamaji
wow.
dies,
Yeah.
and then Babar had just died in the previous episode. Then you
Oh
see
my
Rashid
goodness.
dying,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
you see Moria dying, and then you see
Yeah,
leading up to
all
this.
at once this happens. And it's like in this what a 66-minute episode, and it's like completely you're like, what? Where do I look? Because there's so many things.
So that was, and we suddenly gone completely outdoors in the last episode, and completely wide angles, and it was just like vast open spaces and on that hilltop. And so again, so that was it was tough to shoot, and it was very different from season 1, where season 1 was at night in a closed area with a lot of people, and season 2's climax was out in the open, broad
Yeah.
sunlight, and very few people. So it's just like a completely different setting for the drama.
Yeah, the
Uh,
settings, yeah, it's completely different. Yeah. And so
And
that was like your vision board almost. Like you wanted that's completely separate to like the
correct.
first season was completely different from the second season finale. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
worked so well because I would say like that season finale was like in season two as well. Like when the moment you see Makbul kind of enter the house, then and to be honest, it kind of you feel like okay, yeah, because Makbul suffered so much, that loyalty has basically gotten him nowhere because like it's like what happens with Barbara and what happens to his mom is so unforgivable because and you can see like that sort of moment of redemption he has when he's like by the graves and he looks at Bauji and Colleen Bhaiya, and you can tell like something's switched in his head, and he's gonna do something unpredictable and completely like unlike Makbul we've seen. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I love. Like even like characters like Makbul, Babar, this character arc has just developed so well like for like such characters like Makbul in season one is completely different to the one you see in season two. In season one you can see like this Herculean person who's kind of just following orders, but then in season two you see he writes his in his diary, and it's just complete like this family man who's feeding his mum like biryani, and it's so like heartwarming and like like this is what you guys are doing. You guys are kind of creating this sort of world which completely swallows you up. Like I was like I'm a part of this show, and I just feel like I'm in the show in the weirdest way.
No, I think it's coming also. I mean, the confidence coming from the response that we're getting, with people like you and the fans, and them just picking up on these small things that, we can only hope when we're making them that they'll connect or they'll understand, or we hope they will follow these stories. Um,
Yeah,
and
and
attach with these characters. So, like you said, like even with Makbul, he in both the seasons he might have 6 or 7 lines in like the 2 seasons that he has, but he's such a iconic personality in Mirzapur, and that is just amazing. And credit to the actors to hold their own and understand the gravity of a character like that. And like you said, um, uh, so little is talked about performances like his, where and with such a physicality, but such a fine actor as well. Like in
exactly.
that moment in the graveyard, you can tell that he's hurting
In the
and he's
eyes, like the emotion. He doesn't
yeah.
say
So
a
I mean,
word. He doesn't say a word, and you just see in the eyes. I completely felt that scene, even with Barbara, like, and like at the end of season one, you're not sure whether he's going to follow with Makbul or is he going to stay with Gudu, and then he stays with Gudu, and that shows that he's following loyalty, like he's learned that loyalty from his Mamu, that
correct.
loyalty he has seen. So it's kind of like that scene where they have that face to face when they're eating biryani, and they kind of have this thing where have you forgotten your loyalty? And then Barbara says, no, I am loyal to Gudu Bhaiya. And so like that scene, like stuff like that family scene, like you've captured moments like that. And even like scenes of Raja, like from in season one, like into season two, the way he's kind of become like Bina's right hand man, like he's completely like so involved with everything that's going on, and he might be that you never know the one of the he might be the
Yeah,
dad.
right. Father. That
But
is true.
it's so true, and like even like with Ali Fazal, like the way season one is, his character arc has developed so much. Where first he's very ferocious, like this sort of fierce character, and also naive at times. But then in season two, you see a much more calculated Gudu, and he's more like this emotionally restrained Gudu, and he's more quiet in a way. So you just see like, and you kind of think like, yeah, has he kind of captured like parts of Bablu, and that kind of like has become a part of him because that balance that was there in season one was Gudu and Bablu. Has he kind of become both? Like that you could see like a balance inside of Gudu in season two in the weirdest way.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. See what because so essentially what we were going for was that with both Guddu and with Golu,
Mm,
actors that we had in season one, they both were very in Hindi they say mufat. Like they
yeah,
say the first thing that comes to their mind and they're
exactly.
not ashamed of saying it. So even with Golu, she's a very forthright girl.
Yeah,
So anytime, like आप यही चाहते हैं कि दीदी सेक्स कर ले तुम्हारे साथ, like she'll go
yeah.
ahead and say that.
I
But
remember.
what we thought would be amazing is because they've seen this horrific loss right in front of their eyes.
Yeah,
if we just took away their voices completely, we just we didn't allow, I mean, the characters just we didn't allow them to speak. We just
Yeah,
took that away from them, so that they could suffer, they could battle that within themselves. So you see that with them, they Golu hardly speaks in season 2, you know.
exactly.
So you take that away from her, and you the girl that was so against violence, and her going into that path where she now is going to pick up a gun and become almost one of the boys and go
Exactly.
down and so and Guddu. So everybody keeps saying that, of course, the with Guddu is that even in season 1, if anybody watches back and forth, he makes a lot of the decisions. It's not like Bablu makes the decisions,
No,
because
no.
way of thinking is very unique to him.
Yeah.
So his mind is so uncluttered that he always comes up with the bizarrest of thoughts. And it is his brain arriving at that much sooner. If his brain tells him, I want to shoot Rati Shankar Shukla right now, it's not because he hasn't thought it through, because he knows that's the best decision now, and I have the guts to take it.
Hmm.
So it's just him then slowly understanding that, what he can do. And him, the loss, of course, is making, and it would take anyone into a different path, which we see him go, and he becomes this mountain of a man brooding with those sticks firstly. So another very sequence that we really like, and it's one of Ali's favorite sequences, which is when the first time he actually gets up to walk in the doctor's house in the
Oh,
middle
yeah.
of the night, where he tries to stand up. I think that's something that it carries a lot of emotion for us. So even that, the first time when he teaches Golu how to fire the gun. So there's moments where they're actually not saying anything, which is very different from season 1, where season 1 was a lot more verbose, and they'd say everything, and everything was a quip and all of that.
Yeah.
But a lot about their simmering sort of tension. So that, I think, the moment that happened where in the end of episode 1, where we leave Golu and Dimpy both with the same choice of doing
Yeah.
manslaughter, and one girl takes that choice, and the other girl is strong enough to not take that choice. I think that, was also very poignant for us to sort of put it there for the audience to to remind them that it's not that that is the choice that everyone will take or should take.
Hmm.
um, Even with that grief, it's always up to you to decide whether you will cross that line or not. And we see Dimpy being strong enough to not do it, but
Yeah.
Gold gives in to her rage, and she actually goes, and then and you see Guddu realizing that she's now also, she's come into the dark side in a way. So I think that, is something that was very memorable. Lalit dying in the CM's office.
Yeah.
I think it was brilliantly written by Puneet when we read the episodes for the first time, and we're all thinking, why is there so much emphasis on suddenly Lalit's being given a little bit of importance? He's quipping around. Kaleen Bhaiya's asking him to come to the thing.
And
What's
he's
going on
like
with
the
this character?
scapegoat,
What is he?
basically.
What is Puneet going? Why is he giving? Is he just going for the jokes? Is Lalit there for the jokes? Is Puneet trying to just keep the humor in? And then when that scene happens, and we were reading it, we're like,
Yeah.
oh man, what a setup.
I love Lalit, like in season 1 as well, like his
Yeah,
the moments on his his ear, the ear
yeah,
and everything, and that's so true. Like even like the smallest scenes, they kind of do have this like kind of grasp on you at the end when you're watching it back. Even like however small or big the character is, like there's moments where yeah, and even with Golu, like you could say it's her sacrifice has been one of the biggest because she started off as a school topper. She was the president of she finally became a president of the school, and then she has to kind of go in this line, and she was probably the most intelligent out of all of them, who can probably go on to like top any degree, but now
yeah.
she's had to leave that education behind because this is now has become her life. And that's you can see, yeah, like that she actually arguably has kind of suffered a lot, like from what happens after the wedding,
Correct.
because and the fact that she in season 1 she doesn't know how to use a gun at all, to the point where she's now actively like kind of in season 2 guns are always like blazing with Gordon, because like from as the moment when he teaches her at the end of season 1, like she's changed now and she's gonna season 2 is going to be in different Golu.
Yeah. And so I think that um, even the bar fight in the end of episode 4, where
Yes,
we
Sarur Bar.
yeah, that was again like a fun thing, and it's fun. Even the rewatch we were watching, so it has a very nice sort of dynamic between the three of them, and how all of them approach the fight, and the first time Munna and Guru see each other. So another memorable sort of sequence that we had fun sort of executing is, yeah, I think that, and then like you said, I think the end leading up to the climax, the 10th episode. I think so. Those are sort of my picks in that sort of season.
Yeah, and like speaking of Sarur Bar, I think that was like a personal fan cheering moment for me, because when you see Guddu finally kind of gain that strength, that Mr. Purvanchal strength comes back, like in a way,
Yeah.
because because he's almost like, yeah, he's kind of fighting back. He's almost, and he's grasping them, and he is able to. You can tell like he's back, and he's like laughing this hysterical laughter at the end. It's just like it's just completely crazy, but I love it.
Absolutely. I mean, so again, that definitely very memorable. That last episode
Yeah,
4.
and even like yeah, the finale, of course, like, and when they like that's I think that last like build up with Munna was just completely like that redemption is there, but then at the same time you feel like is don't actually Munna, he be saved, could he, like, but then there's no way out of this for Munna. You know what's going to happen, and like they wait for him to open his eyes, just like in season 1. That sort of just like that whole thing, like for fans it's completely amazing, like to say, oh yeah, that's what happened in season 1. He was waiting for Goody to open his eyes, and now look, Goody is now waiting for Munna like to open his eyes. It's just like that sort of craziness. And even like with season 3, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, because I'm looking forward to it. And I have to tell you this, season 3, it's out on, well, in India it's out on 5th of July at 12, but
Yeah.
it'll technically still be 4th of July here, like evening, and that's actually my birthday.
Oh,
So I'm going to be
congratulations.
watching it on my birthday, season 3. That's my plan, spending the evening of July 4th watching Mirzapur 3, because I just absolutely can't wait.
Thank
It's because like I'm probably don't have to explain how much the show means to me, because you've seen it before, the all the stuff I had written before, and in fact that's how it was kind of weird, like how it started, like that whole link. Like I actually started writing about Mirzapur first, and that kind of made me do what I'm doing today. So
Wow.
Mirzapur has been very integral. In a way, it's personal now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're glad that, the show can give you so much joy or engagement. I think for us, that's the biggest takeaway more than anything else. Just when people enjoy it and they watch it and they feel it's their own. I mean, there's nothing better for us.
Hmm. Well, on a final note, what's the thing that you're most looking forward to, like after the release of Mirzapur 3?
Uh, there's another show in the pipeline. So hopefully a new world for everyone to grasp. Very excited about that. But of course, as soon as Mirzapur is out, I think all of us need a little bit of a break.
Yes.
So the entire sort of close cast and crew are thinking maybe we need to do a bit of a getaway, just let the hair down, just relax, not worry about things, just enjoy the moment is what we're waiting for. We're very excited. It's been a longish wait this time around for everybody.
Yeah,
So
almost 4 years, I think.
yes, almost 4 years. So we're just waiting for this day. We're waiting for the response. Good, bad, ugly, galis, pyar, all of that. We're just waiting for all of that because it's all so enjoyable. So we're just gonna revel in that for a bit and not worry
Yeah,
about
just
anything.
let that sink in, because
Yeah,
it's true. And to be honest, even if there's galis, like everyone, because it's just because people love it so much, people are involved
yeah,
with
it's
the
their love for
show.
the
So it's almost
absolutely.
like apni baat hai. Like everyone's just basically has an opinion, because it's like it's now everyone sees it as like the family. And after Inside Edge, it was like, and then there was Sacred Games, and then Mirzapur has been like the one that's been completely like everyone's been fascinated over. And the fans, I think they're the most important at the end. Like the way they responded to it, the appreciation, like nothing else matters. Like nothing else
Absolutely.
matters. There's no critics' response could matter when you think of the fans. and and appreciation. Like for me, I don't consider myself a critic at all. I appreciate. I basically say I appreciate, and I can't wait. Like I have to tell you personally, this going to be my birthday gift from you guys. I'm just kind of considering this as a birthday gift in my weird way.
Absolutely. And we hope you have a great birthday and you really
A
enjoy your
vocal birthday.
yes, have a complete vocal birthday and hope you find new things to latch on to in this season and hopefully we can, emotionally drive you, drain you, shock you. And we just hope you guys like it.
I'm sure you will, and I will tell you. Like I'll make sure you guys know how I feel after watching season 3. I'll make sure of it, and I might end up doing another like a written appreciation like I did last time because I think it's just. I've started with 1 and 2. I can't just leave it. I have to do the third one now. Now I'm telling myself I have to write a third one because already I'm planning it. And thank you so much for doing this. I know you are so
My
busy right
pleasure.
now.
No, my pleasure. It's always been a pleasure.
And we'll chat more soon. I'll let you know more about like what I felt about Mirzapur. And
Thank you.
thank you so much.